SpaceX has established itself as a leading company in the world of space exploration with the rollout of its newest heavy rocket, the Heavy Falcon rocket. The Heavy Falcon rocket is considered the largest rocket in the world in terms of payload. This is something astounding considering the fact that it is coming from a private company. In time past, the leading rocket in terms of size, technology, and payload were owned by the government agencies like NASA and Russian Space Agency. But it seems as if the tides have changed as private companies have now taken the lead in churning out a heavy class of rockets, with SpaceX leading. So what do we know about SpaceX Heavy Rocket family? Hi guys, welcome to Glancy Tech, where we take you through all you need to know about the world's most powerful rocket, the Heavy Falcon rocket. Rockets are an integral feature of space exploration. It is safe to say that without rockets there can be no space exploration, and so it is central to space exploration. This is because for humans to travel space, there is a need for a vehicle that would transport them to space. The Heavy rocket is a vehicle that would transport humans to space for exploration. In times past, these rockets were usually owned by government agencies all around the world. But Elon Musk, the world's richest and most powerful industrialist, has also disrupted that narrative. And so now, private companies are now in the leading front producing heavy rocket for space exploration. Interestingly, the most powerful rocket on Earth is currently owned by SpaceX. It is bigger in terms of payload than what we are used to have with the Russian Soyuz rocket, an American heavy rocket that was used for the Apollo mission. According to a report, this Heavy Falcon rocket can deliver twice as much payload as the Apollo-era rocket. And so people consider it a monster and something magnificent. We didn't get to see this heavy rocket in use until it was first launched over 3 years ago at the Kennedy Space Center. It made use of the same pad at the Kennedy Space Center in Florida, which was used by NASA then to launch rockets to the moon during the Apollo missions. The Falcon Heavy rocket have been in development for some time now. One of the earliest concepts for the Heavy rocket was initially unveiled around 2004, bearing in mind the fact that Elon Musk has had this ambitious dream of deep space exploration. And as a matter of fact, he is currently working on colonizing Mars and launching a heavy-duty satellite into space. So what do we know about this rocket? Like we said earlier, the first thing to know about this rocket is that it is the most powerful rocket ever built by any man. In terms of payload, it is far greater than we presently have and is capable of lifting about 141,000 pounds, a mass greater than a 737 jetliner loaded with passengers, crew, luggage, and fuel. The next closest rocket is the Delta IV Heavy, which can lift a mere 63,470 pounds. So comparing the two, payload, we can see that the Heavy Falcon rocket is not at the level of what we once had in the world, as it is more than twice the Delta rocket. Another fact you know about the Heavy Falcon's rocket is that it's a heavy rocket with multiple stages, just like other rockets. Its first stage consists of about 3 Falcon 9 engine cores. This is equivalent to about 27 Merlin engines. The power thrust generated by these engines together is so huge, and it is up to about 5.13 million pounds of thrust when it is about to take off. Against reality, and to understand this is the equivalent to the sun thrust that can be generated by about 18,747 aircraft put together. Easily, this could be considered a rocket ever built by man. Furthermore, the Heavy Falcon rocket has side boosters, and these boosters are altogether when combined equal to the first stage of a Falcon 9 rocket with 9 Merlin engines. Also at the point of lift off of the rocket, the boosters and the center core of the Heavy Falcon rocket would also move from the beginning of the utmost thrust. And shortly after it might have taken off, the center core engines are throttled down. After the side cores separate, the center core's engines throttle back up. Considering all of these remarkable features, easily we can say that the next big thing to hit the space industry is this heavy rocket. Before this time, NASA and the American government have begun to reduce their reliance on the Soviet rocket. Before SpaceX came on the scene, the U.S. was heavily reliant on Russian engines for transport to space. Then the U.S. and her allies usually pay between $200 and $250 million for each spaceflight. But like we said, SpaceX has changed that narrative already. The Falcon rocket is way cheaper than what we currently have. The cost of using the Heavy Falcon rocket is around $90 million, meaning that apart from the fact that the Heavy Falcon rocket is more advanced than its Russian counterpart, with a much bigger payload delivery, it is also very much cheaper than the Russian rocket. So it therefore makes much more economic sense for the US to dump the Russian rocket for Elon Musk's Heavy Falcon rocket. And that begs the question, how useful would it be? Of course, this might look like an easy answer, which you probably know. But of course, we would try to explain some of these views much better. One of the areas the Heavy rocket would be most useful would be in the area of short-term commercial and military space exploration. generating a huge revenue for Tesla in terms of commercial and military contracts, bearing in mind that in recent times, attention has shifted to commercial space exploration as more companies join the bandwagon. Recently, Jeff Bezos launched his own commercial space exploration company in a bid to challenge the dominance of SpaceX in the industry. This subsequently resulted in the company launching recently its first spaceflight. In the same vein, we have things like the militarization of space by world powers like the US, China, and Russia, with these countries competing with each other and launching spaceflights carrying huge payloads of advanced satellites to space so easily we can see more use of adoption of the Heavy Falcon rocket in these areas. However, SpaceX intends to use the rocket for its own solar system transport missions. SpaceX has already proposed a Mars mission called Red Dragon. This is a plan towards the fulfillment of Elon Musk's dream of Mars colonization and turning man into an interplanetary species. Of course, the journey would never be easy because the planet Mars is a faraway planet, and so they would need a robust and efficient transport system. The Heavy Falcon would deliver this as it can support a heavy payload, is cheap to fly, and very energy efficient. So, Falcon Heavy is the rocket of choice and the launch vehicle for trans-Martian injection. Also, many people have hinted at the potential for Falcon Heavy and Dragon 2 capsules being able to go further beyond Mars and even carry payloads across much of the solar system, particularly to Jupiter's moon Europa, something that we would all love to see. Apart from this, we could see the relevance of the Falcon X Heavy rocket in some other forms. The Falcon Heavy rocket would change the way we launch a satellite to our outspace. The Heavy rocket can carry a huge swath of satellites to orbit. This would be so much useful, particularly in this area where we would have increased sophistication of satellite development. We need an efficient transport system that can deliver this payload. The Heavy Falcon rocket will not be used in increasing intensity to deliver large payloads to orbit inside a composite fairing. This protects everything from satellites to SpaceX's Dragon spacecraft during delivery to destinations in low Earth orbit, LEO, geosynchronous transfer orbit, GTO, and beyond. There is so much to look forward to in the years to come as the Falcon Heavy rocket takes center stage in the world of space exploration. Already we have seen some flights, but we would be surely see more of the Falcon Heavy rocket, especially from 2022, with much more flights determined to hold. So really, 2022 would be an interesting year to watch out for the space industry. For me, I look forward to these launches next. How about you? Let me get your comments and thoughts in the comment section. That will be all for today. If you found this video entertaining and enlightening, I want you to like, share, and push the subscribe button for more updates from Glancy Tech. The era of space exploration, which began in the 1950s as a power tussle between Russia and the US, has since evolved. We have since then moved past the era of government-dominated space exploration to privately dominated space exploration. And today, we are seeing tremendous and active growth in the space industry thanks to Elon Musk, who is leading the charge. The race for space dominance initially started with the low Earth orbit, which saw Russia become the first to hit, and then it extended to the moon, which saw the US take the lead, and now we are heading to Mars in the coming decades, thanks to Elon Musk and many other private space companies and government agencies. The goal is to send the first humans by the mid-2020s, establishing a city on the planet by 2050. Already we have seen Mr. Elon Musk and SpaceX make a massive impact in the space industry, launching satellites into the Earth's orbit, which saw them also make money in the process. But Elon Musk isn't backing down yet. He founded SpaceX just because he wanted to put a man on Mars. He has always had this idea of deep space explorations, and Mr. Musk has since then poured a large chunk of money and resources into SpaceX. Based on multiple sources of information gathered, Elon Musk has decided to expand facilities in Texas to reach his target. So, what is his specific plan? And why did they choose Texas as the construction site? Find out in this video. Hi guys, welcome back to Glancy Tech, where we explore all you need to know about the Texas as a construction site. Elon Musk, as a space enthusiast, has been advocating for more space exploration. According to him, he likes the idea of humans being an interplanetary species. He frowns at the idea that man hasn't visited the moon for this long. According to him, it's been now almost half a century since humans were last on the moon. That's too long. We need to get back there and have a permanent base on the moon. Again, like a big permanently occupied base on the moon. And then build a city on Mars to become a spacefaring civilization, a multi-planet species. But how are they planning to achieve this? The crucial step essential in achieving this mission would be to have an efficient transport system. That transport system is currently being designed by SpaceX, and it is called the Starship. It is a huge stainless steel rocket that Space has been building and testing as it develops the facility in Boca, Chica, Texas. The vehicle will be used to launch cargo and people on missions to the Moon, Mars, and deep into space. Currently, the Starship already has some prototypes. Each of these prototypes is about 150 feet in height. This is equivalent to about a 14-story building, and each one is powered by 3 Raptor rocket engines. Seeing how important this transport is to the journey ahead, the company is already clearing the way for its success. So, currently, what the company is looking into is expanding the Texas headquarters. It is important to note that SpaceX was not in Texas initially. The company was located in California, but Elon Musk's displeasure with California authorities as a result of the COVID restrictions and other measures caused him to move his base away from California to Texas. Already, the governor of California has expressed his displeasure with Elon Musk, but there's nothing that can be done about that. So the new headquarters of SpaceX at the moment is Texas. That said, SpaceX would be planning to add much more structure to the facility. We are possibly looking at launch and landing pads and a host of other structures. He plans to name this site the City of Starbase. It is going to be a base that would be crucial to the launching and retrieving of its heavy rocket. The details about this plan that have been released by U.S. Army engineers. As part of preparation, we could be seeing 2 more suborbital launch pads. In addition to what we already have on the ground, the company has already built some of this infrastructure in Boca Chica, the facility currently housing its heavy space rocket. Mr. Musk is seeking to incorporate this site into the City of Starbase. Currently, at the Boca Chica, there is 1 suborbital launch pad and a landing pad, and it's in the process of building other components, such as a second suborbital launch pad and an orbital launch pad according to reports. This proposed expansion is in tandem with the SpaceX program, which is accelerating. For SpaceX to keep on this track, they have to accelerate the construction of these structures, even as they continue with the testing of its Starship prototypes, which are being developed to carry humans to Mars. Already, Elon is excited about the progress so far, as he was seen thanking Texas in a tweet. "Thank you, South Texas, for your support," SpaceX founder Elon Musk tweeted in December. "This is the gateway to Mars." The Brownsville area has waited years to see this uptick in activity. SpaceX formally announced the Boca Chica launch site in 2014, though the gossip, environmental reviews, and battle for public opinion began even earlier. The plan was to launch Falcon 9 and Falcon Heavy rockets, but progress was slow. The progress of construction was delayed after SpaceX discovered that the ground was unstable. This made SpaceX truck in more than 310,000 cubic yards of soil. You might wonder what would be the equivalence. Well, it is the equivalent of covering a football field of about 13 to 14 stories tall. It was put on top of the sand and left to settle and compress before construction. Then, a rocket broke apart during an uncrewed cargo flight to the International Space Station in 2015. Another rocket exploded during a test on the launch pad in 2016. Both incidents grounded SpaceX launches temporarily, and Boca Chica was put on the back burner. So, the Brownsville area had to hang on, and as residents waited, Musk changed direction. Instead of launching the Falcon 9 and Falcon Heavy rockets, he would build and test Starship prototypes. And so in the future, we might see that Starship spacecraft and Super Heavy rocket might launch humans into space from South Texas. And so to make room for these future launches at Boca Chica, the company is proposing a sizable expansion to this facility. The expansion is expected to impact 10.94 acres of mudflats, 5.94 acres of estuarine wetlands, and 0.28 acres of non-tidal wetlands, according to the Army Corps of Engineers public notice. SpaceX's efforts to minimize its impact on wetlands would include building the parking area in a predominantly upland area. Mitigation efforts are being worked out. SpaceX stated that they are developing a comprehensive, multifaceted mitigation strategy for the Boca Chica launch site, according to the public notice, which is seeking comments on the proposed expansion. This information will be updated as the mitigation strategy is finalized. On Twitter, the SpaceX development plans had some people concerned about the proximity of the launch, but many in the area are happy about the progress. One of the good news for the area is that this complex would be in the long run add so much economic benefit to the area. Another thing to look up to is the fact that aside from the development of the Texas, SpaceX is also working on a mobile seaport. The company is currently building the first of its kind for the space industry. The floating spaceport would be useful in its space exploration also. It would be used to host launches as early as next year. The floating seaport is called Deimos. SpaceX CEO Elon Musk shared those details on the progress of its build for Deimos. The company is making use of one of the 2 converted oil rigs SpaceX purchased earlier this year. The company is transforming them into floating launch and landing sites for its forthcoming Starship reusable rocket. The 2 floating spaceports will be named after the moons of the Mars. They'll act as offshore staging grounds for Starship launch activities, and the name is appropriate because the eventual plan is to have Starship provide transport for both people and goods to and from the Red Planet. Certainly, 2022 looks like an amazing year for the space industry, with so much to look forward to. With the way things are going, we would certainly have these things on display later next. The idea sounds so interesting, and I'm looking forward to it. What do you feel? Let me hear your thoughts and comments. That will be all for today. If you found this video entertaining and enlightening, I want you to like, share, and push the subscribe button for more updates from Glancy Tech. It has been more than 8 months since Democrats took control of the White House and Capitol Hill from the Republican Party. The Democrats' party ran on the agenda of a higher tax bill for the wealthiest Americans, which would be used to fund their Social Security program. This would radically affect billionaires, particularly Elon Musk, the world's richest person. Although Elon Musk has often said that his wealth is for the good of humanity because he hopes to use them to finance the safety of humanity, but unfortunately this has not deterred Democrats from advancing with their tax legislation. But would the appeal to progressives who are hell-bent on raising taxes on people like Elon Musk yield any luck? And how would this tax bill play out at the end of the day? Find out in this video. Hi guys, welcome to Glancy Tech, where we tell you all you need to know about a potential tax hike on the wealthiest Americans. In the American political sphere, there has been a raging battle between Democrats and the Republicans over how to finance Social Security programs. This has always been an issue as far back as we know, but this debate is increasingly getting hotter as the years go by. Democrats have often favored a tax hike on the wealthiest Americans, which corresponds to 2% of Americans. But the Republicans have a separate agenda favoring lesser tax hikes. This caught billionaires in the crossfire between Democrats and Republicans. But with the recent victory of Democrats in the November 2020 election, calls have been ignited about taxing the rich. There have been proposals on how to tax the rich in this new administration, but one person that has been targeted in recent times is Elon Musk. Currently, Elon Musk has a net worth of nearly $3,000 billion, and still counting, as a matter of fact. He is on course to hit the $300 billion USD mark, a feat no man on Earth has ever achieved. Elon Musk was accused by Vermont Senator Bernie Sanders, who many tagged as a radical progressive. Senator Bernie Sanders suggested that the amount of wealth owned by Elon Musk and people like him are unfair to humanity. He has often said that the people like Elon Musk should pay their fair share. He echoed this sentiment in a tweet in March 2020. He said, "We must demand that the extremely wealthy pay their fair share, period." The Vermont senator has often said this repeatedly for years because according to IRS, most billionaires don't pay personal income tax. This is because billionaires like Elon Musk have refused to be paid salaries rather than exercising stock options in their negotiation. But Elon's company has recently disclosed that Musk has taken out loans using his shares as collateral. Musk may want to repay some of those loan obligations using shares, and so they won't have to pay income tax. Elon Musk has often expressed his satisfaction towards the agenda of higher tax rate, and he even had to have replied to Senator Bernie Sanders in a tweet a few weeks later. "I keep forgetting that you're still alive," and he went forward to mention his name in a tweet. "Want me to sell more stock, Bernie?" he asked. "Just say the word." But then it seems as if this displeasure expressed by Elon Musk, he might get a heavy tax hike on his net worth. But he's been attacking a recent Democratic proposal to tax the assets of billionaires like him, which would be unveiled in days to come. Just like we said, Democrats are the party favoring higher tax bills to finance Social Security programs, and so the logical rationale behind the Democratic plan is to use revenue derived from taxing billionaires to help pay for a domestic policy package which has been negotiated and passed in the Congress. The proposal contains several social programs that would, among other things, help combat climate change, provide universal pre-kindergarten, and expand healthcare programs. The proposal wasn't included in President Joe Biden's framework for the domestic policy package released Thursday, though that deal among congressional Democrats isn't final. It is a huge bill that is up to about $1.8 trillion USD. The proposal by the liberals was recently unveiled by Senator Ron Wyden. The proposal seeks to tax the profits made by individuals with either $1 billion or more in assets, or 3 consecutive years of income, or $100 million or more at the capital gains tax rate of 20% and the 3.8% net investment income tax rate. It would apply to fewer than an estimated 800 people who would have to pay tax on the value of tradable items like stocks, even if they don't sell them. Under current law, such assets are subject to tax only when they are sold. But Democrat supporters have consistently praised and supported the bills. It is believed that the proposed tax would generate up to about $200 billion in revenue to the government within 10 years. It is believed the revenue generated over those years would be enough to help fund Biden's legislative priorities, although Republicans seem united in their bid to quash the proposal of Republicans, and some have suggested it would be challenged in the court of law. But like we said earlier, Elon Musk has been one of the most notable billionaires that have been vocal against the proposal. He suggested that the plans were not good. He said in a tweet, "My plan," the SpaceX founder tweeted Thursday about his fortune, "is to use the money to get humanity to Mars and preserve the light of consciousness." Not did he say this, also went further to suggest again that the fundamental problem is that the government spends too much money, and he warned that the billionaire tax proposal could lead over time to tax hikes for more Americans. Eventually, he tweeted Monday, "They run out of other people's money, and then they come for you." So apparently, Elon Musk is signaling to the government that my money is my money. He further argued that, while all of these were on Capitol Hill, Elon Musk was in the news as he decided to participate in Twitter polls. The poll was about Mr. Musk selling about $6 billion worth of shares. Unfortunately for him, a majority of the Twitter polls, representing just about 54%, said he should sell off his stocks. He eventually sold them anyway because he already committed to selling them. But in reality, would all the tax bill be necessary? Considering the fact that Elon Musk has often suggested that his wealth is for the sake of humanity. For instance, in one of his tweets in 2018, he suggested that the reason is not what you think. Very little time for recreation. Don't have vacation home or yachts or anything like that. About half my money is intended to help problems on Earth and half to help establish a self-sustaining city on Mars to ensure the continuation of life, of all species, in case Earth gets hit by a meteor like the dinosaurs or World War III happens and we destroy ourselves. This is actually to think about because Elon Musk in reality lives a modest life. Even though he is the world's richest, he still manages to keep things cool. Very few have thought about how much Elon Musk's ambition of Mars colonization would cost. In October 2019, Musk broke down the cost of the ambitious project. Sending 1 ton to Mars could cost $100,000. A self-sustaining city would require 1 million tons to the nearest order of magnitude. The city would therefore cost between $100 billion and $10 trillion. Bearing in mind that Mars is an unbelievable planet that needs technology to make it habitable for man, it surely needs money, and Elon Musk could be needed to power the city. In May 2020, he declared that he was also selling almost all physical possessions. Later that month, he said that on the Joe Rogan Experience that possessions kind of weigh you down. Accord's analysis in October 2020 found Musk had donated around $257 million to the fund. The fund had given 86% of its wealth to 3 sources, 2 of which were donor-advised funds. These funds, commonly used by billionaires, are criticized for a lack of transparency. Furthermore, Musk has pledged to give half of his wealth to philanthropy or charitable causes. He will have to increase his contributions if he has any chance of meeting this goal in his lifetime, a shift he suggests would happen by 2038. But it certainly seems Musk has got no choice as Democrats advance with the bill, which will see Musk pay tax of 15 to 50 billion USD annually. Do you think this is fair on Musk, or are you in support of the bill? Let me know what you think in the comments section. That will be all today. If you found this video entertaining and enlightening, I want you to like, share, and push the subscribe button for more updates from Glancy Tech. SpaceX has shown itself to be a reputable and formidable space-oriented private company. The company was only active company in the space industry before the likes of Blue Origin came on the scene. The company was the first to send a man to space, a feat that changed the world of space exploration. The company is at it again with the scheduled launch of the Starship rocket, a feat that would yet again change the face of the space industry. With the next launch scheduled, we certainly have much to look forward to in the days to come. Find out what we know about the SpaceX Starship rocket in this video. Hi guys, welcome back to Glancy Tech, where we take you through the much anticipated Starship rocket. There was so much joy and buzz in the space industry as SpaceX signaled a possible launch of their Super Heavy Starship rocket. It has been a long time coming for the rocket that has been in development for some time. It made its maiden flight in 2019, but since then, it has passed through so much modification. For starters, SpaceX is the world-leading space company. The company has been in existence for more than 12 years. The company was founded to propagate Elon Musk's dream of deep space exploration, such as exploration to Mars and beyond Mars. The company has since then pursuing his dream through the production of rockets that would achieve this mission. The company recently became the first private company in our world to send astronauts into the International Space Station, a feat no company has ever been to achieve since then. Thanks to its heavy, powerful rocket, they have been able to produce these groundbreaking events. Now that they have successfully shown themselves that they can be the company to launch a man into the immediate outer space with strings of a successful test, they have now set their sight on deeper space exploration with the Starship rocket. A rocket that would no doubt make this journey successful. Like we said, they have had a few successful tests starting from 2019, although there were strings of failed tests too, building up to this moment. But eventually, they have been able to pull this through and would be finally setting our sights on this huge rocket, some refer to as a monster. The Starship is the huge next-gen rocket SpaceX is currently developing to launch cargo and people on missions to the Moon and Mars. Elon Musk recently announced that SpaceX is hoping to launch the first orbital flight test of its mammoth Starship rocket in January 2022, depending on testing and regulatory approval. We'll do a bunch of tests in December and hopefully launch in January, Musk said, speaking at a meeting of the National Academics of Sciences, Engineering, and Medicine Space Studies Board. The company has tested prototypes already at its new facility in southern Texas and has flown multiple short test flights. The Starship is fully reusable with both the rocket and its booster, capable of landing after a launch to be recovered for future flights. SpaceX's Falcon 9 rockets are partially reusable. The company can regularly land and relaunch the boosters, but not the upper portion or stage of the rocket. Now the company has set the next agenda in the development of the Starship rocket. The next step would be to launch the rocket into orbit, and this is what we are looking to see going forward. But there are hurdles the company must scale to get this done. The first for the company is to get a launch license from the Federal Aviation Administration for the mission, with the regulator expecting to complete a key environmental assessment by the end of the year. But whether they get this approval is what we don't know, but it is expected that they probably clinch the approval. Musk would be confronted with the challenge of success. Like we said earlier, the Starship rocket has in time past had failed, so the first test could be a bit challenging. Already Musk has noted that he wasn't sure if Starship would successfully reach orbit on the first try, but emphasized that he is confident that the rocket will get to space in 2022. If SpaceX succeeds with the test, they would then aim to launch as many as a dozen Starship test flights next year, he said, to complete the test flight program and move to launch real payloads in 2023. Mr. Musk has stressed that they would need to establish a mass production line for Starship. This production line would be crucial to the program's long-term goals, so technically at the moment, the biggest challenge facing the industry has become the biggest constraint on rocket manufacturing, is how fast the company can build the Raptor engines needed for Starship. If everything eventually succeeds, we can finally be looking at a reality of man becoming a multiplanetary. We'll need maybe 1,000 ships or something like that, Musk said. The overarching goal of SpaceX has been to advance space technology such that humanity can become a multi-planet species and, ultimately, a spacefaring civilization. Although SpaceX has a $2.9 billion contract from NASA to develop Starship for developing astronauts to the moon's surface, Musk said the company is not assuming any international collaboration or external funding for the rocket program. SpaceX has raised billions in funding over the past several years, both to fund Starship and its satellite internet project Starlink, with the company's valuation recently hitting $100 billion. With all these mentioned, what are the features of the vehicle? The spacecraft has its nose cone and landing fins. It is made up of stainless steel resembling the rocket ships from the golden age of science fiction. The spaceship is about 50 meters, 160 feet long. At its rear, the Starship craft has 6 highly efficient Raptor engines, developed over a decade by SpaceX. The engine was carefully crafted, the combustion takes place in stages, and the engine's design cuts the amount of propellant that's wasted. Towards the middle of the vehicle is the propellant tanks. These feed liquid methane CH4 and liquid oxygen O2 to the Raptors. Methane is the fuel and oxygen acts as an oxidizer, a chemical that makes the fuel burn. The combination is dubbed methalox. The choice of fuel is unusual for rocket engines, but methane can generate plenty of thrust. It's also a prudent choice in light of Musk's design on Mars. The SpaceX founder says that CH4 can be synthesized from Martian subsurface water and atmospheric carbon dioxide CO2 using a chemical process known as Sabatier reaction. Refueling Starship for the return trip to Earth using Martian resources would confer a level of self-sufficiency, making journeys both more feasible and cost-effective. Towards the front of the spacecraft, which is sometimes referred to as the upper stage, is a huge payload compartment that will be able to haul large cargo or people to destinations in deep space. What about the size and features of the rocket? It is measuring 70 meters or 230 feet long. Super Heavy will be filled with 3,400 tons, 6.8 million pounds of cryogenic chilled methalox. It will be powered by around 32 Raptor engines. This specification has changed several times and should achieve more than 70 meganewtons, or 16 million pounds of maximum thrust. It should be able to lift at least 100 tons of payload, and possibly as much as 150 tons, to low Earth orbit. This will make the Super Heavy rocket more powerful than the immense Saturn V launcher used for the Apollo moon missions in the 1960s and 70s. How about its launching and refill? As it ascends from the launch pad, the combined Starship system will begin to pitch over towards the intended orbit. When the upper stage separates in space, Super Heavy flips over while falling back towards Earth. As it descends, Super Heavy will deploy steel structures called grid fins, shaped a bit like potato waffles, from the sides of the booster. These will help steer the rocket back towards its launch pad so it can be flown again. SpaceX has an ambitious plan to then catch the falling booster using its launch tower. This tower provides engineers and crew members with access to the spacecraft and rocket while they are sitting on the pad before launch. A pair of steel arms will extend out from the launch tower. The grid fins will then take the load as the spent booster falls onto these arms. The tower has been dubbed Megazilla because it resembles a creature from the Godzilla movies. In closing, Elon Musk has shown himself to be a powerful industrialist that has the power to turn everything around. He has repeatedly shown that he has led SpaceX up to this moment. 2022 certainly sounds like an interesting year in the space industry, as we look forward to many launches. Do you think many of these launches would be successful? That will be all today. If you found this video entertaining and enlightening, I want you to like, share, and push the subscribe button for more updates from Glancy Tech. What Elon Musk has made from Megazilla is mind-blowing. For some time now, we have been noticing lots of activity SpaceX's Boca Chica launch site. It is related to the SN20 prototype that has recently been completed a static fire test using at least one out of the 3 Raptor vacuum engines. The complex's Megazilla launch tower has now gotten a huge pair of steel arms. It is going to be very useful to SpaceX. It is believed that it would help the company achieve many of its most ambitious goals, as it would speed up the turnaround time of rockets, meaning that SpaceX would be able to launch Starship rocket up to 3 times per day, in what would be a major game changer for SpaceX going forward. Hi guys, welcome back to Glancy Tech. Get ready, strap yourselves in, and join us as we take a deep dive into the all-new Megazilla. Elon Musk is the man of the moment leading the space exploration project. He is increasingly becoming more central to space exploration. He is achieving this through SpaceX. They have been able to complete quite a number of missions to outer space, but now they look to set to aim for deeper space exploration with the Megazilla. Deep space exploration will be made possible by the Starship rocket. This Starship rocket has now received a big boost with the introduction of Megazilla. Elon Musk has already announced its Starship booster recovery strategy, which would also be essential. The announcement got many people talking and surprised as to how this would be possible, as it sounded like a crazy idea of what we see in Hollywood movies. But hey, wake up. You should trust Elon Musk. He has never dropped to dazzle us with these things we never thought were possible. He has been able to drive this doggedness into the crew of SpaceX, and now we can see the craziness and dedication of the SpaceX crew as they have begun to install and make ready what Elon announced. Plans are currently on the way for the installation of a pair of giant arms designed to lift and catch Starships and Super Heavy boosters to make the ships land in one piece. If this would be achieved eventually, it is really going to be fascinating. The first time Mr. Musk talked about the plan of Megazilla was December 2020. Of course, it created a shockwave of what will Elon Musk do again. For the avoidance of doubt, the goal in view with the Megazilla is to catch the ship and its Super Heavy booster as they make their way back to Earth. This method could be a step up from the drone ships currently used for Falcon 9 boosters returning to Earth after missions. SpaceX will try to catch the largest ever flying object with robot chopsticks, Musk posted on his Twitter page on August 30th. Success is not guaranteed, but excitement is. We have seen Elon do great things till now, but you see this one is easily the most ambitious feature of a spaceflight project we have seen. It would break new ground. The Starship is a fully reusable rocket capable of sending over 100 tons or 100 people into space at a time. The spaceship is being designed to support all of SpaceX's current missions. It would also pave the way for more ambitious plans like a base on the Moon or a city on Mars. The under-development vessel could become the tallest 394 feet and most powerful rocket, 16 million pounds of liftoff thrust ever to fly. While it's already said to be an impressive visual sight, Megazilla can make the scene look even more outstanding. But why is it named that? Megazilla is the name of Elon Musk, the CEO of SpaceX, has given to the launch tower next to the Starship launch pad. The pad is located at the firm's Starbase facility in Texas, where it aims to host the rocket's first ever orbital flight later this year. In April 2021, Musk explained on Twitter that if it had some legs, it would resemble. Most things named by man have always been because of some reason. Elon Musk certainly has a reason for naming Megazilla. The name is a reference to the Mechagodzilla character from the Godzilla movie franchise, which first appeared in the 1974 film Godzilla vs. Mechagodzilla. Of course, if you are a keen follower of Elon Musk, you should know by now that he loves to reference sci-fi concepts in his product description. Could it be that he actually derives his inspiration from sci-fi? By the way, don't forget that Elon Musk is the... So what can this thing do? Launch towers for rockets are part of rocket designs. You can't separate them, but they are not always together. We surely need the two to launch. NASA describes the current fixed service structure at the Kennedy Space Center's Launch Pad 39A, used for rockets like the SpaceX Falcon 9 and NASA's Space Shuttle. Measures around 347 feet from the ground to the top of the Lightning mast. It features 3 swing arms for access to a shuttle placed on the pad. It's ideal for emergency exits for astronauts. But SpaceX is thinking bigger with the Megazilla. In December 2020, Musk claimed that the firm planned to use the launch tower's arms to catch the Super Heavy booster as it returns to Earth. He further described how the company intends to get this done. The booster will likely use 2 pins for lifting and catching. Musk noted that maybe it's better to modify grid fins to make more load, suggesting the plans are still in motion. The ship would sport something to flip out of the leeward side of the ship. Musk added that it's maybe a part of the forward flaps, but probably not. Tank treads on the arms will slide the booster out to line up with the orbital launch pad ready to fly again. The plan signals a form-sharp departure from the way SpaceX sets up its other rocket reuse efforts. Let's consider, for instance, the semi-reusable Falcon 9. The first stage booster either returns to Earth on a land-based launch pad or an autonomous drone ship in the sea. The rocket fires its engines during descent to come to a stop on the pad. So why not do that then? Because as Musk suggested on August 13th, using the tower to catch the booster and ship means that neither of them needs landing legs to support themselves as they return. The Starship will only require legs for missions that land on Mars or other planets until there is local infrastructure. Note that the Falcon 9 boosters use their legs to support themselves as they came into land on those drone ships. On August 4th, Musk also suggested that the tower can move the rocket into position. If the tower can catch the rocket and move it back into position onto the launch pad, that could help SpaceX reuse rockets faster than ever. The fastest turnaround time for a Falcon 9 booster from the previous flight to reflight is 27 days. In March 2020, Musk said that he wanted Starship to be able to fly 3 times per day. If Musk wants to build a city on Mars by 2050, he might come to depend on that rapid turnaround time. In 2019, he estimated that the city would require around 1 million tons of cargo to reach self-sufficient status. If each ship carries 100 tons, that means SpaceX will need to make 10,000 flights over the next 30 years, or around 333 per year. We hope to see this soon. In all, next year will be a year to watch out for in the space industry. It would define a lot of things. Elon Musk has already outlined how the company's under-development rocket will deliver a high fly rate of 12 launches in 2022. This will enable the ship to deliver actual payloads in 2023 before moving on to more ambitious goals like sending humans to the Moon and Mars. The comments made at the joint meeting of the Space Studies Board and the Board on Physics and Astronomy outline how the stainless steel rocket taking shape in Texas will move from prototype Curiosity to working ship. It's a project that could enable some of SpaceX's most significant goals. First outlined in 2017 under the name BFR, the Starship is a stainless steel rocket that measures around 400 feet tall when paired with a Super Heavy booster. It's fully reusable, designed to fly up to 3 times per day. It's capable of sending up to 150 tons or 100 people into space at a time. Its use of liquid oxygen and methane as rocket fuel means astronauts can fly to Mars, refuel using the planet's resources, and either return to Earth or venture out further as part of a planet-hopping network. All of these sound really interesting. What do you feel about this project? Do you think 2022 would be the defining year for the space industry? Let me hear your views in the comments section. If you found this video entertaining and enlightening, I want you to like, share, and push that subscribe button for more updates from Glancy Tech. In recent times, we have witnessed tremendous progress in the space industry since the Russian first launched the first man into orbit. Russia has always been the world leader in terms of space exploration in what proved to be the tight contest that marked the era of the Cold War, which saw the US and Russia scramble for dominance. But ever since the end of the Cold War, Russia has since then gradually fallen behind the US in terms of space exploration. And in the meantime, the US has developed its space exploration. Although the Russians still maintained an edge, the things changed as the Dragon capsule from Elon Musk's SpaceX took the lead, with Russia's space boss calling the capsule safe for Russia. But how did this happen? And what makes the Dragon capsule astounding? Find out in the video. Hey guys, welcome to Glancy Tech, where we let you know about the Dragon capsule and how it is thrilling the Russian space boss. SpaceX has shown itself as the leader in the world of space exploration. Already we have seen SpaceX disrupt the reliance of the US on Russia's space capsules. Before 2020, the US relied heavily on the Russians to transport them into the International Space Station ISS. The US paid between $250 and $500 million to book a space on the spaceship. Something very expensive for NASA. But the year 2011 saw interest rekindle in the space industry as Elon Musk began to help build and lead the US space industry. Then many people felt the project was born to fail even as the Russians openly mocked the ambition. But before a decade down the line, SpaceX has helped the US achieve independence in space exploration. In 2020, the US for the first time since 2011 launched an astronaut on her soil. Since then, SpaceX has been taking the lead in launching American astronauts. The interesting thing about the launch is that it is cheaper and more advanced than the Russian rocket. For instance, it takes $90 million to book a seat on the Dragon capsule. This is way cheaper compared to what we would pay on the Russian seat, which cost almost $500 million. This probably alerted and impressed the Russians with the Russian agency full of praise for SpaceX. In one of this kind gesture from Russia towards Elon Musk and SpaceX, the head of the Russian space agency, Roscosmos, announced that he is finally satisfied with the performance of SpaceX's Crew Dragon is safe enough to carry Russian cosmonauts, clearing a major obstacle for an agreement to exchange seats between Soyuz and commercial crew vehicles. This was a great achievement for Elon Musk and SpaceX. Have they finally gained the attention they want? Dmitry Rogozin, Director General of the Russian Space Agency, said in a press conference during the 72nd International Astronautical Congress here, October 25th, that he no longer had reservations about flying cosmonauts on Crew Dragon as the spacecraft nears the end of its second long-duration mission as the International Space Station. Mr. Dmitry Rogozin, in a recent interview which happened during the 72nd International Astronautical Congress on October 25th, he backed down on his skepticism on SpaceX. He said he does not have any form of reservations toward SpaceX's Dragon capsule, and he was open to the idea of the capsule flying Cosmos astronaut. His comment came even as the Crew Dragon is about to end its second long-duration mission at the International Space Station. He was quoted as saying, "In our view, SpaceX has already acquired enough experience for us to be able to put our cosmonauts on Crew Dragon," he said through a translator. He said the topic would come up during a meeting with NASA Deputy Administrator Pam Melroy scheduled later. He further said that I believe we will be in a position to discuss candidates who may be flying to the space station on board the Crew Dragon, Russian cosmonauts and American astronauts who will be flying to the space station on Russian spacecraft. Rogozin and others at Roscosmos had previously said that they needed more evidence that Crew Dragon was safe enough for Russian cosmonauts. Even after the spacecraft successfully carried NASA astronauts on the Demo 2 mission in mid-2020 and the subsequent Crew 1 and Crew 2 missions, Crew Dragon has also flown a commercial mission, Inspiration 4, with 4 people on board. So probably we guess that they are satisfied with their results this far, and they are opening up to the possibility of interaction with SpaceX. Rogozin's comments were welcome news to Melroy, who was also participating in the press conference. I think they've been very clear from the beginning that they feel strongly, and we understand completely that because they don't have as much insight as we do, she said in an interview after the press conference, they expect that there should be several flights before they feel confident in the performance of the vehicle. At this point, we're having that conversation. That confidence, though, does not mean an agreement between NASA and Roscosmos to barter seats is a done deal. The important thing is that an agreement has to work for both of us, she said. There are considerations that we have and they have as well. NASA has sought to barter seats to create mixed crews of at least one NASA astronaut and one Roscosmos cosmonaut on each mission. That would ensure both countries would have a presence on the station and the ability to maintain their separate systems, if either Soyuz or commercial crew vehicles are grounded for an extended period. The earliest a Russian cosmonaut could fly on the Crew Dragon would be the Crew 5 mission in the second half of 2022. Similarly, the next time a NASA astronaut could fly on Soyuz would be the fall of 2022. since NASA has decided not to acquire a seat on the Soyuz MS-21 launching in March 2022. Interestingly, Mr. Rogozin has always been a hard critic of Elon Musk and Tesla. For example, in 2014, after Russia was sanctioned by the US and her allies, Mr. Rogozin offered a public rebuke of the sanction. After analyzing the sanctions against our space industry, I suggest to the USA to bring their astronauts to the International Space Station using a trampoline, Rogozin said via Twitter. At that time, Russia was solely responsible for sending US astronauts to space using the Soviet-era Soyuz rocket. He commented then mocking the US and her private space corporation Boeing and SpaceX, which was in development then. By 2020, Mr. Musk stylishly referenced and mocked the tweet after successfully sending US astronaut to ISS for the first since 2011. He said in May 2020 the trampoline is working. At another time in December last year, Mr. Rogozin shared social media photos from Rogozin and Roscosmos engineers working in the rugged Yakutia region of eastern Russia during winter, where temperatures were at reported minus 61 degrees Fahrenheit, minus 52 degrees Celsius. I wonder if gentle SpaceX can work in such conditions, Rogozin mused on social media and referred to SpaceX's launch center for Starship operations in the far balmier Boca, Chica, Texas. But neither SpaceX nor Musk replied to the tweet. But with the recent kind of remark from Mr. Rogozin, we have reasons to believe that the frosty relationship between SpaceX and Mr. Rogozin is finally coming to an end. We might be seeing increased cooperation with Russia. Already, Mr. Rogozin has invited Elon Musk to Russia. Rogozin is even inviting Musk to his home in Russia to be a guest of my family and discuss exploring the universe, extraterrestrial life, and how we can use space to preserve life on Earth. We may begin to wonder what could be responsible for the change in the attitude of the Russians. Well, it is simple. Russia is beginning to realize how bad they have fallen behind the US in space tech. They thought that they were ahead, but all of a sudden, thanks to Elon Musk, they have fallen behind. Currently, the leader in space tech is no other than Elon Musk and the Americans. And this is thanks to the Dragon capsule. It is a real phenomenon vehicle. The Dragon spacecraft is capable of carrying up to 7 passengers to and from Earth orbit and beyond. It is the only spacecraft currently flying that is capable of returning significant amounts of cargo to Earth and is the first private spacecraft to take humans to the space station. The Dragon spacecraft is equipped with 16 Draco thrusters used to orient the spacecraft during the mission, including Apache perigee maneuvers, orbit adjustment, and attitude control. Each Draco thruster is capable of generating 90 pounds of force in the vacuum of space. In 2020, SpaceX returned America's ability to fly NASA astronauts to and from the International Space Station on American vehicles for the first time since 2011. In addition to flying astronauts to space for NASA, SpaceX's Dragon spacecraft can also carry commercial astronauts to Earth orbit, the ISS, or beyond. Obviously, after American allies have already gone aboard the Dragon capsule to space, but the big question, would Russia follow suit? Let me get your response in the comment section. That will be all for today. If you found this video entertaining and enlightening, I want you to like, share, and push the subscribe button for more updates from Glancy Tech. We've been hearing a lot about the mighty Starship rocket being designed by SpaceX, and everyone has been intrigued by this magnificent design. The question that comes to mind is, how soon should we expect to see the first orbital flight? But getting the first of its flight would depend on getting regulatory approval from the US government. But what that we have seen so far from Mr. Elon Musk is the kind of progress that he has made till this time. We certainly expect to see this in the coming months. So the question for today is, when can Elon Musk's SpaceX make its first orbital flight with the Starship rocket? And will SpaceX get the Federal Aviation Administration approval for this flight? Those are two questions that space fans must have been curious about in the past. Hi guys, welcome back to Glancy Tech, where we explore all you need to know about the SpaceX orbital launch. SpaceX is a world leader in the world of space exploration. The company is currently doing so well in the industry, taking the lead amidst other companies and government agencies. Currently, the company has launched more than a dozen space flights and more coming in the days to come. It is certainly something to look forward to for SpaceX. With SpaceX showing competency in outer spaceflight, they certainly have to move forward to bigger missions, such as the deep space missions. So it is safe to say that what we are looking forward to now is the deep space missions from Elon Musk's space. Already plans are being put in place towards that, even as the company recently completed a major milestone in this journey. They conducted 2 test firings of the engines on the Starship 20 prototype. This is in anticipation of imminent launch of the rocket into orbital space, even as they await approval from U.S. regulatory agencies. Currently, the Federal Aviation Agency, the regulatory body, is reviewing the SpaceX application for the test flight. The recent test firing was conducted in anticipation for the orbital mission is considered by many as a major milestone that was just crossed by SpaceX. Although the company once said some time ago that the orbital test flight might not be anytime soon, but with what we saw recently, we can say that SpaceX has changed position. Elon Musk has already confirmed that the flight would be early next year, either January or February. Musk announced this in his recent tweet. If all goes well, Starship will be ready for its first orbital launch attempt next month pending regulatory approval. For starters, the Starship is fully reusable, not only that the rocket and the boosters are capable of landing after a launch to be recovered for future flights. SpaceX introduced the world to the technology of reusable rockets. Before now, the world was not used to it. This affected the price of space exploration, which was high. But thanks to Mr. Elon Musk, the problem has been solved once and for all. All of SpaceX's rockets are fully or partially reusable. For example, the Falcon 9 rocket is partially reusable. This has made it possible for SpaceX to regularly land and relaunch the boosters. And now they are reproducing the same with the Starship spaceship. For some years now, SpaceX has been actively advancing the development of Starship. By the time the Starship is completed, it would be the largest ultra-super heavy reusable launch system ever designed in the history of man and space exploration. And the interesting thing is that we are seeing this development move at a jaw-dropping pace. And Mr. Elon Musk is convinced that it will reach orbit sometime next year. At the moment, we are approaching full operation for the test. Mr. Musk is hoping that SpaceX would be able to complete work on the launch pad and the launch tower at Starbase, the company's sprawling facility in Boca, Chica, Texas, later this month, with the first orbital launch set for January 2022. That would be followed by a possible a dozen additional launches, possibly more, throughout the rest of 2022, Musk said. That doesn't mean Starship will reach orbit in January. However, as Musk was careful to note, there is a lot of risks which are usually associated with this first launch, he said. So I would not say that it is likely to be successful, but I think we will make a lot of progress. So, Elon Musk trying to say that the first test isn't going to be likely a success. The major barrier to the January launch is regulatory approval. SpaceX's launch activities at Starbase are currently undergoing an environmental assessment with the Federal Aviation Administration. The FAA said earlier this week that it would wrap up that review by December 31st. So, if all goes according to Musk's plans, a January launch is the earliest feasible date. If things go as planned for SpaceX, they could be looking at a start selling their Starship launches at prices cheaper than the Falcon 9 in around 2 years, which is even earlier than the timeline part of SpaceX's proposal for NASA's Human Landing System. By the way, it is interesting to know that SpaceX was the winner of the sole bid to develop the HLS, which would be used to transport systems to the moon for the first time since the days of the Apollo program for NASA's Artemis program. That launch, dubbed Artemis 3, is now scheduled to launch in 2025. It's hard to overstate the scale of Starship, which includes the Starship spacecraft and the Super Heavy rocket compared to all other launch systems in history. Fully assembled, it stands 394 feet tall. By comparison, NASA's in development Space Launch System and Orion spacecraft are 322 feet fully stacked. Starship could have the capacity to repeatedly launch more than 100 tons into orbit and function as what Musk described as a generalized transport mechanism for the greater solar system. But Musk is not aiming to build 1 or 2 or even 10 Starships. Instead, he estimated during that humanity may need around 1,000 launch systems to colonize Mars, and turns out us into a truly multiplanetary species. Elon Musk has always had this ambition to get that done, as it was the reason he founded SpaceX. And SpaceX has built a factory to mass manufacture them, or as close to mass manufacturing as you could get. And the company has been moving fast on its development. Back in May, SpaceX flew the 15th prototype of Starship, and the launch vehicle reached around 30,000 feet, with a successful upright landing. It was the first time a test concluded with the launch vehicle intact. The overarching goal of SpaceX has been to advance space technology such that humanity can become a multiplanetary species and ultimately a spacefaring civilization, and to make true the things that we read about in science fiction and have them not always be fiction, he told National Academy's members. I think this is very important for the long-term preservation of the light of consciousness. How this would end, we would get to know later, but we must say that the Starship is an interesting piece and that would no doubt change the world. It is a class of fully reusable launch vehicle in development by American aerospace company SpaceX. The launch vehicle consists of a reusable stainless steel super heavy booster and Starship spacecraft designed to hold liquid oxygen with liquid methane used by Raptor rocket engines. Starship's large payload capacity to space and fully reusability should make it extremely cost competitive and able to serve many facets of spaceflight, including space tourism, interplanetary spaceflight, and fast point-to-point flights between places on Earth. With these capabilities, the rocket is incorporated into many space missions, such as the Dear Moon project, NASA's Artemis program, and SpaceX's Mars program. And all Starships would be very instrumental to the success of space tourism in the future. More and more people would have access to space tourism. Already we have seen this year as Jeff Bezos launched himself into orbit using his Blue Origin company. It looks as if this could be the next step towards the commercialization of space, even as more and more companies join to cash in on this new sector. But without a doubt, Elon Musk is in the pole position to lead this as he got the money and resources to get this done. But it all begins with the success of the program next year. What do you think about the launch next year? Let me get your thoughts and comments. That will be all for today. If you found this video entertaining and enlightening, I want you to like, share, and push the subscribe button for more updates from Glancy Tech. We would never cease to be amazed by what Elon Musk is doing to our world as he keeps rolling new things and new deals. He is at it again. The news broke out that Elon Musk has come to terms with Google Cloud Services. Reports have it that the new Starlink Elon is working on will be used in conjunction with Google. And this buzz of the town, the thoughts of imagining Google and Elon Musk coming together is something great. We can only imagine what will come out of this partnership, and this is what we would be exploring in today's show. Hi guys, welcome back to Glancy Tech, where we explore all you need to know about Elon's partnership with Google. It is interesting to know that Google and SpaceX have recently agreed to collaborate. This was made known by the report in May 2021. The collaboration would involve setting up the much-needed infrastructures that would help ensure high-speed access to data and the internet to business. It would also help to protect cloud and broadband internet infrastructure. In the agreement, SpaceX would engage in large-scale building and installation of Starlink ground centers. These centers would be built near Google's data properties. This SpaceX ground stations would then have to establish a connection with the optic fiber networks of Google so that the connection could be secure, delivering a low-latency data connection in the process. SpaceX is gearing towards this as it has already launched about 1,700 Starlink satellites into orbit to date. These satellites would help to provide an internet connection to areas with restricted internet access such as rural and remote locations. This would be made possible and secure with the link up to Google Cloud. With covering already launched this satellite in thousands, the company hopes to launch more of them in the years to come. The plan already is to launch more than 12,000 of these satellites to provide robust broadband internet access to every part of the world, even in remote areas. The internet would majorly be a low Earth orbiting satellite, while the data centers provided by Google would assist Starlink network in a way that would make it to provide internet and cloud services to any part of the world. This would greatly benefit everybody, including big companies with big footprints, public institutions, and the likes. All of these institutions and companies usually require the use of the cloud and internet services, which can be often unavailable in the desired location. But the partnership with Google promises to put an end to that. We would be able to use effectively apps that run on Google Cloud services and things like analytics, artificial intelligence, or machine learning. A representative of Google disclosed that connectivity from Starlink's constellation of low Earth orbit satellites provide a path for these organizations to deliver data and applications to teams distributed across countries and continents quickly and securely. This new service for enterprise customers is expected to be available until the end of 2021. Google Cloud's high-performance private network would help in ensuring the optimum delivery of Starlink's global satellite internet service, bringing enterprises and consumers seamless connectivity, enabling the delivery of critical enterprise applications to virtually any location. Further, Google said in the official statement that businesses in rural or remote areas working on edge networks will now have access to cloud applications like analytics, artificial intelligence, machine learning, etc. Urs Herzl, SVP of Infrastructure at Google Cloud, said the partnership would enable organizations to have seamless, secure, and fast access to critical applications and services they need to keep their teams up and running across countries and continents. Interestingly, this is not the first time space is making this kind of agreement. SpaceX last year, October 2020, had announced a deal with Microsoft Azure Cloud Computing Network to build an interconnect internet network to deliver high-speed internet to anywhere on the planet. At the time, Shotwell said, "Where it makes sense, we will work with Microsoft, co-selling to our mutual customers, co-selling to new enterprise and future customers." Meanwhile, Amazon Project Kuiper, which often aims to offer affordable broadband across the globe, has its cloud infrastructure in place and is likely to leverage Amazon Web Services for network connectivity in rural and remote locations. Amazon is also planning to launch close to 3,236 satellites into orbit soon. But SpaceX might be snubbing Amazon Cloud Services considering the disagreement they had recently, which made Amazon space companies sue SpaceX and the US government. They lost the lawsuit anyways. But then things could change, you know. It's all about the business. The deal represents a victory for Google as it works to take share from Amazon and Microsoft in the fast-growing cloud computing market. It is also an unusual type of deal for Google, or any other cloud provider, as it relies heavily on Google's internal network and connects data centers, rather than simply outsourcing functions like computing power or data storage to these data centers. This is one of a kind. I don't believe something like this has ever been done before, said Bikash Kohli, Google's head of global networking. The real potential of this technology became very obvious. The power of combining cloud with universal secure connectivity. It's a very powerful combination. They chose us because of the quality of our network and the distribution and reach of our network, said Thomas Kurian, CEO of Google Clouds Group. Amazon popularized the public cloud business with the launch in 2006 of general-purpose computing and storage tools from its Amazon Web Services division. Google introduced its computing services in 2012. But over the last 2 decades, Google has spent money assembling a private fiber optic network to connect its data centers, Kohli said. While much of Google's cloud growth has come from taking care of computing and storage needs for clients, such as Goldman Sachs and Snap, the SpaceX deal will draw heavily on Google's networking capabilities. The deal could last 7 years, according to a person who declined to be named discussing confidential terms. SpaceX is one of the world's most valuable privately held startups, having raised money at $704 billion valuation. In February, CNBC reported, Google invested $900 million in SpaceX in 2015. SpaceX has launched over 1,500 Starlink satellites into orbit, and last week the company said more than 500,000 people have ordered or made a deposit for the internet service. Starlink is aiming to provide internet connections to almost anyone on the planet by way of a growing network of private satellites orbiting overhead. Starlink provides high-speed, low-latency broadband internet across the globe. Within each coverage area, orders are fulfilled on a first-come, first-served basis. Using advanced satellites in a low orbit, Starlink enables video calls, online gaming, streaming, and other high data rate activities that historically have not been possible with satellite internet. Users can expect to see download speeds between 100 megabits per second and 200 megabits per second and latency as low as 20 milliseconds in most locations. Starlink is ideal suited for areas where connectivity has been unreliable or completely unavailable. People across the globe are using Starlink to gain access to education, health services, and even communication supports during natural disasters. Already the company has announced that Starlink satellite could reach global serviceability anytime soon. It is going to be nice to see it operationally. Especially working with Starlink isn't without its controversies. Members of the scientific community have raised concern about the impact of Starlink's low Earth orbit satellites on night sky visibility. Meanwhile, satellite internet competitors including Viasat, Usenet, and Amazon Project Kuiper have taken notice of Starlink's momentum too, prompting plenty of regulatory jousting and attempts to slow Musk down. Even with the challenges faced so far, Starlink is already available in some parts of America and Canada, but we won't get to see the full capacity of Starlink until it starts working with the cloud services. But we are still some years out, and we will keep watching to see the latest from. What do you think about this deal? Let me get your thoughts and comments. That will be all for today. If you found this video entertaining and enlightening, I want you to like, share, and push the subscribe button for more updates from Glancy Tech.